On August 11, 2023, I was pulled over by Galveston, Texas Police Department for suspicion of DWI after a troll called in a false report to dispatch. This led to a refusal by the department to give a breathalyzer as demanded, and them then proceeding to a blood draw while being cuffed and held down by nearly 10 officers without a warrant ever being shown. With coming discovery, you will easily see how Galveston Police Department is doing the bidding of Lafayette County, Mississippi, and the state of Mississippi.
All right, we are. Oh, well, we're already getting pulled over. Already getting pulled over. Yes, sir.
Officer Murph, GPD, you got your driver's license, man?
Yeah. Can I ask what you pulled me over for?
Yeah, sure. Several things. Fail to maintain a single lane, turn signal.
I'm new. I found my friends.
All right, you got your driver's license?
I actually don't, but I can give you my number.
Okay. You have any form of ID on you?
I don't.
Okay.
No.
Never. The law says you have to present it, not hand it to them.
What's your number?
It is 801. Wait. So before I give you this, you said that I was failing to maintain a lane. I've actually got the cam right here that shows that I was driving straight. I was literally.
That's fine. I've got my camera too.
Okay.
You gonna give me your number? What state is that out of?
Mississippi.
Mississippi. What's your last name?
Reardon.
What?
Reardon.
Reardon. Can you spell that for me, please?
Reardon.
R-E-A-D.
Reardon.
And your first name, sir?
Matthew.
Birthday? All right, Mr. Matthew. Anything in the vehicle to be aware of? Guns,
No.
knives, or anything like that?
Nothing at all.
Okay. Hang tight. Okay?
All right.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, can I get your name and badge number, please?
Yeah, Officer Osteen 692.
Okay. You doing all right tonight?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm all right.
How are you tonight?
Oh, just touring Galveston. First time being to Texas.
First time being in Texas?
Yeah, hadn't been through Texas. I do a lot of traveling around the country, but this is the first time actually coming through Texas. Wanted to see Galveston.
You auditor, man?
I don't answer questions.
Okay.
What's up, guys?
Why stop you, Brad?
He said, I don't know, he said basically failure to maintain the lane. But I mean, I've got dash cam right here. I was trying to look out to see where the gas station was, and...
Hey, man, you said it's your first time here?
Yeah.
Hey, what's your name?
It's Matthew. I mean, y'all look up.
Okay. Do you have his license on you?
It's Matthew.
Matthew what?
Reardon.
Matthew what?
Reardon.
Reardon?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your date of birth, man?
March. You got not write it down?
Okay, where you headed to, man?
Right here.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Meet up some friends.
Okay.
They're literally the ones taping you right now.
Okay.
I'm live on YouTube.
All right, Mr. Matthew, I'm going to ask you a question. I need you to be honest with me, okay?
Yeah.
All right, have you been drinking tonight, man?
Not a single thing.
Okay, then how come I smell alcohol coming from the car?
I hadn't had a drink, dropped a drink for 3 years.
Nothing for 3 years?
3 years.
3 years, okay?
You smell me?
I can smell you.
No alcohol.
No alcohol.
None.
Okay. You still have the vehicle, Mr. Matthew?
Sure. I just pulled the mask down in blue. You don't have a single...
Okay. Matthew, you walk back here with me, man?
Yeah.
So you're telling me, Mr. Matthew, you haven't had a drink in 3 years?
3 years.
Okay.
All my kids.
Huh?
All my kids.
On your
3
kids?
years.
All right, Mr. Matthew, you mind doing some tests? Make sure you're okay to drive, man?
I mean, do you smell alcohol in my breath? I hadn't had a single thing to drink.
That's not answering my question.
I'm not taking... Your field sobriety tests are designed to fail. You know it and I know
They're
it.
not designed to fail. The first one's scientific.
How about this? Let me blow.
Huh?
I'll blow.
You want to blow?
I'll blow.
Okay, you understand.
Yes, I understand. I haven't had a drop to drink.
Let me explain something to you.
I haven't had a drop to
Let me
drink.
explain something to you, okay?
I have not had a drop to drink.
Okay, I understand that.
Okay.
I understand you're saying that, okay? What I'm telling you is, you understand that if you blow, I have to place you under arrest.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Go get it.
That's not how it works. We don't go get it. We go to the machine.
Okay. No, sir. No, sir.
That's where the machine's at.
No. Call supervisor.
The supervisor's right there.
We're not doing this. No. I'm taking it right here. No, I won't even take it.
Mr. Matthew.
Yeah, I refuse
Are
it.
you willing? You're refusing?
Ask for your lawyer.
You're refusing?
I want a lawyer.
Yeah, I don't need to give you a lawyer. Are you refusing the field sobriety test?
I said I will blow.
Okay. We have to go to
Bring
the
it
jail.
here. Y'all have portable tests. Y'all have portable tests.
We don't.
No, we do not.
We don't.
We don't have them.
I don't know what to tell you. We
The only
don't.
one we have is at the police station. It's the only one we have.
You got a supervisor?
I am a supervisor. Right here.
What's your name and badge number?
Sergeant Jack Doherty, 344.
344. And you are?
I've already told you.
I know. What is it again?
Officer Osteen 692.
Osteen. You are?
Murph 617.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more time, Mr. Matthew. Will you consent to field sobriety test?
No, not. I said I'll blow. Otherwise, take me into custody.
Okay.
Suspicion of DWI.
Hey, can you get my gimbal?
Crime, man. He does not want to do the field sobriety test. The sobriety test is voluntary. He requests to blow in this.
I said I would blow. When I blow zero.
To search that car.
Just towing it. That's why. Once they take him into custody.
How can they take him into custody? There's no crime. Suspicion is
If he
not
blows
a crime.
if he blows zeros at the jail, are y'all gonna let him go?
Suspicion is not a crime.
Sergeant Doherty, or is it Lieutenant?
Y'all need to let him go, man.
Is it Lieutenant or Sergeant? It's Sergeant. If he blows zeros at the jail, are y'all gonna let him go or?
That's up to the officer.
Okay.
What we're doing right now is exactly what he wanted to do.
Well, I know. I was
This
just
is what
curious.
he wants to do.
Oh, I know. I was just curious.
All he had to do was take the test.
I know. I'm just curious as
He
to.
didn't know. He requested to take a breath test. A breath machine is at the county jail. We
Yeah,
don't have
I understand that. I understand that. He doesn't understand y'all don't have them. Yeah. No, but so if he goes to the county jail and he blows zeros, like then you'll have nothing to hold him on, right?
I don't know what the initial stop was. I haven't got that far yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think he said it was something like failure to maintain lane or something like
I don't know.
Okay.
I got to review body camera. You know.
that. Yeah. No, I get it.
Okay, so he said he wanted to blow.
Yes.
Well, why is he in handcuffs?
Because they're
then?
taking him to jail because
So
that's where
what?
the
He's not
breathalyzer's
been-
at.
He hasn't been charged with a crime yet.
Our
Why-
policy states if you're going to ride in the back of that car, you're going to have
That's an
handcuffs on.
unlawful detention, though, man.
He's requesting to go.
He didn't request to get
Yes, he
handcuffed.
did. It's right here on my camera.
He
He turned
requested
around
to-
and put his hands behind his back.
That's because y'all told him to.
No, we did not. It's
No,
on my
he
camera.
did. He put him behind his back.
He's
Yeah,
on-
but still, man. I mean, if he's not,
We're doing exactly what he's asking. to do.
you guys are the law enforcement officers, not him. If he asked to blow, you still don't have a crime.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand what you're
Okay,
saying.
look, if I asked you to go sleep with my mother, that doesn't mean you have to go sleep with my mother, Doherty. No, it's not. If I ask you to arrest him because he's ugly, are you going to arrest him because he's ugly? No, it's not. It's the same damn thing. You're the law enforcement officer. You're acting like he's your boss.
I'm doing my job.
No, because he said put me. Oh, okay. So if I say put me in handcuffs right now, are you going to put me in handcuffs too? Go ahead, put me in handcuffs. No, I'm asking you to. Well, that's what I'm saying. He didn't do anything wrong either.
He's got to go to the county jail to blow in the breathalyzer.
Suspicion is not a crime, though, man.
He wants to go blow in the breathalyzer.
Why'd you put him in handcuffs?
Because he put his hands on back and put me in
That's what
handcuffs.
I'm saying. I'm putting my hands behind my back right now saying put me in handcuffs. Why won't you do it to me? No different.
Who's all in here?
There's no crime yet. So they've got him in the back of this car handcuffed. There's no crime.
He's talking way too much, man. He said they want to draw blood on him, is what they just said. All right, they're taking him. He should have kept his mouth shut. He should have asked for his lawyer, and he shouldn't have answered any questions. He should have said, write me a ticket or take me to jail or let me go. And he'd be out of here by now. Are going to look like idiots, man, when he comes back sober. That's why they're drawing blood. They're hoping just to find anything at this point. First it was they smell alcohol. Now they're drawing blood just to find anything. Yeah, they don't have probable cause for this shit. None. They have no probable cause for this. That's why I lost my mind. He volunteered to do this shit.
Well, he thought they had the mobile ones. He didn't know that they had them down in jail.
He fucking put his hands out like that and said, go ahead, cuff me, take me. And they did. But still, it's still unlawful detainment, dude. If I tell you to jump off a bridge, that don't mean you got to do it. They had no probable cause. None. Zero. The only thing they have is he said, I'll take the breathalyzer. That was a big mistake. They had zero probable cause. None. So, let me get this straight. Your probable cause was he said he'll take a breath test? So you're saying you have probable cause? You have probable cause to make an arrest? Yeah, probable cause to make an arrest. Because you guys, you know, legally you guys have already arrested him. You know that, right? Yeah. For what? That's not a crime.
Suspicion of DWI. We're going to draw up a warrant. The judge is going to look at the warrant. We're going to say yes or no. That's how it works.
You said he's under arrest for suspicion of DUI. There is no such charge. There's not a charge of suspicion of DUI. The charge is DUI.
Okay, so when we go and do the warrant for a blood draw, the judge sees the probable cause is worthy of the warrant. He's going to sign off.
So you guys are.
Charged tonight with DWI.
So you guys are trying to get a warrant to see if you guys can charge him. So right now he's being unlawfully detained. I don't see the probable cause. Reckless driving? Well, that's what I asked you. Why didn't you say that to begin with? No, you said he's under arrest for suspicion of DUI. That's not a charge, though. Yeah, but that's not what you said. Suspicion of DUI isn't a crime. Reckless driving is an arrestable offense. You should have just said that to begin with. And then I went and lost my mind.
August 1st of 2023, I got out of prison after being sentenced to a 1-year prison sentence on a probation revocation, which stemmed as a result of Sheriff's Deputy Candace Beaver's lies on stand in court. She knew that she was lying, without a doubt, 100%. When I got out, I knew that I had to put the truth out there, which is what I did with this video right here. Some of you may have seen it. A lot of you probably haven't. It actually got a pretty good amount of traction on the Lafayette County Audit YouTube channel. Now, in retaliation, because this video was published and got over 40,000 views in a very short period of time, Deputy Candace Beavers, as well as Hobie James, who is the deputy that's right here at the beginning of this video that has me pulled over. Both of these deputies, Hobie James and Candace Beavers, actually called down to Galveston. Both of them independently are recorded on phone calls to Officer William Osteen, who made the false arrest for DWI, who claimed he smelled alcohol and there was never any alcohol. Got my unsupervised probation revoked once again. Sent me to prison, back to prison over in Mississippi. That prison sentence, of course, was declared unlawful and was vacated January 21st of this year. The truth needs to come out. The conspiracy has got to get cracked. This video exposes Candace Beavers for her lies. You'll see the transcript. You'll hear the recorded phone calls. So I think it's time to remind the public of this. Enjoy.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
What's going on, Hope?
Not much.
Hey, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, buddy. You're right. You can shake your hand, dude. You doing all right tonight?
Doing good.
How'd Holly Springs go?
It went well. It went well. What'd you pull me over for?
Well, your tag expired earlier this month or earlier this year. So
it's been tough.
I understand. Wanted to ask you, have you got your car in park, and if you don't mind, would you kill it for me just for our safety and everything?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. You ain't got any weapons or anything in the car, do you?
No.
Gotcha. So there was paperwork that was issued today, and I just wanted to talk to you about it and give it to you, and I figured coming from me would be the best.
Sure.
If you want to get out, I'd be happy to let you look at it, or if you want to stay right there.
I'd prefer to stay right
That's
here,
fine.
yeah.
So I want to show you what it is. It is in the Circuit Court Law of Lafayette County, Mississippi. It is a order of holding until the defendant, it's a revocation hearing, and you're going to have a hearing on it tomorrow morning. And I'm going to need you to come with us tonight, and we'll get all this sorted out. They've got a hearing scheduled for you tomorrow, from what I understand. Okay?
Wait, for what?
It's just they have revocated, it's a revocation hearing, and they are ordering us to hold you, okay?
This is crazy.
Yep. So, if you want to, man, I'd really appreciate it if we could just go ahead and get this taken care of. We're going up there, and
I mean, dude, I've done nothing wrong. I just came from Holly Springs, man.
I understand. I don't know.
Can I at least take my car to the house?
So, in a situation like this, what would be best is if you can get a family member. Or
I can't. My wife is out in Hernando.
Okay.
I have kids at the house. I was on the way back.
If you're okay with it sitting here, the bad part about it is now that we've made contact with you, I can't allow you to drive off, is what I'm getting at. So if you want to leave your car sitting here until she can come get it, I wouldn't mind having me or somebody else to come out here and give you a hand with it, okay?
Can I call her?
Yeah, absolutely. Call her. I'm cool with that.
All right. I got a cigarette. I'm just finding my cigarettes.
You're good, man. I appreciate your transparency.
These people will not. I said these people will not give up, man. Single thing. All I've done is just my auditing.
Yeah. Well, Matt, like I said, I've never had any bad experiences with you besides like everything that's going on. So.
Come on. Yes, sir. I need to speak with an agent. There's a major issue going on with the Holly Springs Police Department. There's blatant corruption going on, starting from at the top down. And I've actually got this on video. I've got audio recordings. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't believe the evidence that I had myself.
Well, we do walk-ins as opposed to phone calls.
I understand that, but there's a little bit different of an issue for me. I'm actually, and that was another thing I was going to talk to the agents about. My constitutional rights have been literally mowed over by Lafayette County and now by Holly Springs. I'm actually banished from the city of Oxford. I've got to get permission to come into the city, and I know y'all are in the city, but so basically I need to make an appointment with y'all to come in there. If somebody can set a time with me so I can let Oxford know, or let Lafayette County Sheriff's Department know, and come in there and meet with y'all.
Well, any time between the hours of 8 to 4, Monday through Friday would be fine.
Okay. Is there like a lunch period that nobody's there, or even during the lunch period?
It kind of varies from day to day. I would say if you could come before 12 would be perfect.
Okay. Well, I'm actually right now, I'm mixing down the video from what happened yesterday to include body cam. And I've got about another, well, actually it's already encoded. I can go ahead and put it on a jump drive, and bring that up there. Yeah. I can do that. Let me find a jump drive to load this evidence onto, and I'll come up there.
Okay.
All right.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Sheriff's Department.
Is Jonathan Fingerman in?
I don't think he works today. Hang on.
All right. Can I speak to somebody else? I need to inform them that I'll be coming into Oxford.
Okay, let me transfer you into dispatch. Hang on. Hey, this is Deputy Beavers. How can I help you?
This is who?
Hello?
Hey, who's this?
Hey, this is Deputy Beavers. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's up, Beavers?
Hey, who's this?
Reardon.
Oh, hey, Matt, what's up?
Hey, I've got to go meet with the FBI. I just spoke with them. I need to go really within the next hour.
Okay. Hey, do you know who's that supposed to go through? Like, is it supposed to go through like Mr. With Scott or the sheriff or?
No, I mean Jonathan Fingerman took my stuff yesterday and had everything jotted down. He's not working today, so as long as I just inform the sheriff's department, I don't need to speak to Joey. I don't want to speak to Joey. I don't want to speak to Scott.
No, I just was making sure because I didn't know that you had spoke with Fingerman yesterday.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. What time do you think you'll be coming through?
I'm probably gonna head out here in the next 30 minutes to come up there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fine, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Bothering you. You said the U.S. Attorney's Office, right?
No, the FBI office.
No, after that, I'm talking about.
Oh, the district court.
District court. Okay.
But I don't even know if I'm going to have time to go there or not because I've got I've got a lot of stuff on my plate today. I'm going to.
I understand. That's fine. I'm just writing all this down so I can give it to my dispatchers. That way they know. That's all.
All right. No. What it really is Joey's being nosy.
I haven't talked to Joey, but I'm sitting in dispatch as we talk. So.
Oh, I got you.
All right. And who are you supposed to be meeting at the FBI building?
FBI agent.
Well, I figured that, but who?
I don't need to disclose all that information.
All right.
Just the FBI is sufficient.
And you said before lunch?
Yeah.
All right. All righty. Well, like I said, I don't mean to keep bothering you, but I just wanted to write this down.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this mixed down, and I'm having to do some voiceover to point certain things out. So I need to. That just interrupted my basically my screen grabbing. I was trying to get this done for him so I can leave and take this up there.
Okay. All right. So you have to say
something that happened yesterday.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't here yesterday, so
I got you. Yeah.
All right. Well, you have a safe one, Matt.
All right. You too. Thanks. Bye.
I'm sorry. What time did you say your appointment was? I think we cut each other off.
They really don't do appointments, and that was what I told them. He said if you could just come up here within like the next hour before lunch, that would be great. I was trying to set an appointment. But,
okay, that's fine. I just didn't know if you would say it or not, and I was like, I didn't know. I was like, I think we cut each other off, though.
Yeah.
And it's the one, are you talking about the one over there, because by the sheriff's department, or the one up on the hill by Kroger?
They don't have one by the sheriff's department. No, it's over there by Kroger.
Well, by Kroger.
Yeah, y'all have one over by the sheriff's department?
Well, the federal building over here.
Oh, no, yeah, that's the district court. No, I need the actual FBI office.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't know if I was like, I don't know if you set a time or not, and I was just calling back.
Yeah.
But is that the only place you're going, though?
Well,
will you call? Can you call the sheriff's department and ask for me, and just let me know if you do go somewhere else?
Yeah, I didn't make it around to go into district court yesterday. I was going to go over there and check on things with my lawsuit that's going on up there, and I didn't have time to go to make it over there, so I was gonna kick it to another day, and I might if. It just depends on. I've got a busy day planned out today, and I didn't expect to need to go and sit down with the FBI today. It just came up, and I have to now.
Understandable.
So I may end up going to district court, but I can let you know.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just that way, I wish somebody don't call and all that stuff, and that way I can already talk to you. Just if you decide to do that right before you leave the FBI building, just will you call me?
Yeah, and is y'all's number still the same? Is it 911?
I mean, if you want to call 911, absolutely.
I'm just kidding.
If you want to call I'm not going to tell you no if you're having an emergency, you know. But just call up here and you can ask dispatch for me, and they'll get you to me.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, sir. Be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, bye.
What type of claims are being dead?
It's going to be 42 U.S. Code 1983, 42 U.S. Code 1985, 42 U.S. Code 1986. There's 14th Amendment violations, 4th Amendment violations. There's extreme prosecutorial misconduct that the county piggybacked on that actually conspired with private citizens to introduce knowingly perjurious testimony and witnesses, false witnesses. That all came out in court back on the 4th. So the state attorney general's office has refused to uphold the duties of her office in conducting an investigation into the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department. There's been cameras that have gone missing. They are running a very loose ship over there, and I've had enough of it. It ruined my life 4 years ago. I've lost everything. I've lost 4 houses over the last 4 years, had to move my kids. And, that's the thing is, this fiasco has taken enough of me, and I'm not taking any more. So I've got a complaint, that's got a ton of teeth that I'm prepared to go forward with in federal court, and pursuant to, established case law, I can even bypass the state and go straight to the federal level with the 14th Amendment violation.
Guys that have watched me for a long time, I really don't like to be the center of attention. But anyways, I got some stuff I want to get off my chest real quick, and I don't feel like making a video about it. But this needs to be said, and everybody needs to know what's going on. And this has to do with the guy from Mississippi, Lafayette County Audits. I don't personally know this man. I've never spoken to him on the phone. I've never had a conversation with him. With that being said, I know News Now Ninja communicated with him quite oftenly while he was in prison, and also Good Citizen News. They know him a lot more than I do. I don't know the guy. I was going to meet him for the first time the other night. We all have a past. I have a past. I'm sure everybody has stuff in their past that they're not proud of. And this man just got out of prison like a couple of weeks ago. He just got out of prison. He was coming over here to start his life over. Okay? And I think everybody needs to know, when I talk about Galveston is a police state, like I really mean it. This man started in Mississippi, drove through Mississippi, went through Louisiana, got into Texas, made it halfway through Texas, never had any problems, didn't get pulled over. As soon as he crossed the line into Galveston County, he got pulled over and got arrested. That goes to show you how bad police Galveston is. It is terrible. He drove right into shark-infested waters. Like, we told him to meet us at the store right before you get into Galveston, and I guess he went live, which was a mistake because they were probably watching his live stream. They watched him come over the bridge, and he passed us up and went into the worst shark-infested waters in the whole country, in my opinion, and they immediately got him. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. I called Sergeant Doherty last night and talked to him. My first question was, Sergeant Doherty, did he blow in the breathalyzer? Did he fail the test? Did y'all draw blood? He said, we drew blood. The test results aren't back yet. Well, here's my question, and this is the reason why I went live. How do you have this man locked up, charged with a third DUI, and there's no probable cause, no evidence? They're waiting on the test results. How is that possible? I don't understand that. Please, anybody in the comments, please chime in. They're waiting on the test results. And then when I asked him, I said, this makes no sense. Where's the probable cause? And Sergeant Doherty's response to me was, Harvey, I take it that you've never seen his record before, his past. That was his excuse for this man being locked up while they're waiting on the test results. His past. They locked him up because of his past. How is that possible?
We took our brand new software company ListKit, sent 10,000 cold emails per day, and hit 108.
Adobe Acrobat AI Assistant is super helpful because it allows me to weed through everything that I don't need and get to what is inspiring. And
the only thing they have him on right now is he swerved. He went over the white line, allegedly. They pulled him over for that. They said they smelled alcohol. Everybody that was with this man swears he was not drinking. And another thing, from the get-go, when they pulled him out of the car, he kept saying, I'll blow in a breathalyzer right now. I have not been drinking. He was adamant about that. And then he put his hands out like that to be handcuffed. And so when they handcuffed him and put him in the back of the car, I said, Doherty, what is going on? What is he being detained, arrested for? And Doherty said, well, he volunteered to go and blow, and he volunteered to be put in cuffs. I said, well, if he volunteered to be put in cuffs, why is this man... I said, if he volunteered to go, why do you have him handcuffed in the back of the car? I said, take him out of the handcuffs. If he volunteered, there's no crime. At least uncuff him. Doherty said it was in their policies and procedures that anybody in the back of the police car has to be handcuffed, okay? And that sounded plausible to me. I said, okay. Well, then last night when I went live, I filmed Gainer, and he had a man in the back of his truck in the cage for over half an hour. The man was not handcuffed. The man was talking on his cell phone the whole time. So I mentioned that to Doherty last night. I said, well, you told me it was policy that they have to be in handcuffs if they're in the back of the car. Sergeant Gainer had a man in the back of his truck for a half an hour last night, and he was not handcuffed. What's going on? I said, did Gainer violate the policy? And then he started skating around the issue and deflecting, and then he started bringing up
Lafayette County's passed again. That's why he had to be in custody. I said, no, wait a minute. You said it was a policy violation the other night if they're not handcuffed. So what you're saying is Sergeant Gaynor violated policy by not handcuffing this man. He would not answer it. And then he says, well, Harvey, obviously, if we've got a 5-year-old child and we need to put him in the back of the car, we're not going to put him in handcuffs. And I said, well, Doherty, you're acting like a 5-year-old. I'm calling you out on your bullshit. I'm calling you out on your lie, and you're deflecting, and you're acting like a child. And then he hung up on me. We have the whole thing recorded. You know we don't call the police department without recording everything. So he told me that the man was in jail because of his record, because of his past. The test results from the blood are not in yet. I just don't understand how they had this man locked up in the county jail under a $10,000 bond over this. Please give me your comments and your feedback. I'm going to look over my notes real quick.
Hey, congratulations. Case dismissed.
I know. That's awesome. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, it has. I'm surprised it took them this long, but the DA is slow about everything. So
yeah, so I saw I pulled the order. And I don't know if they had sent it to you. I know when we had spoken a little while ago, they were going to be entering the order.
Right.
So I just saw that, and they're basically saying that it looked like and of course they're going to say this, but probable cause existed, but they couldn't prove up their case. And I guess explain that. That's really just kind of their caveat for the civil thing, basically saying, hey, look, we can meet our burden on the civil level, but we can't on the criminal level. Is that basically what it's saying in a nutshell?
That might be what they're trying to hint at us, but really what they're saying, I mean, that's a standard form. A lot of DAs, they have a standardized, what are we going to plug in here? And what they're saying is that they had a reason for an arrest, but they don't have the evidence to prove it up.
Right.
Right. Well, if you don't have the evidence to prove it up, then you didn't have the evidence for an arrest. Like that's, I don't know. I mean, I understand that police work is not the same as legal work, right? You arrest somebody and then you hand it over to the DA to prove, and the DA and the police don't always get along or communicate very well. And this is an example of a police officer doing a bad job and the DA not having anything to go on. Now, I don't think the DA would have had anything to go on even if the officer did a good job, right? So this is a case where justice was served, and that's ultimately the DA's job. The DA is supposed to seek justice, not to win cases. And so I think they made the right call here.
They did, because it would have, I believe it would have turned out pretty catastrophic for old Osteen had he
I think so too.
Shown up. That was, the age-old adage, and I'm dealing with it really hard over in Utah right now. Justice delayed is justice denied. Well, justice wasn't completely denied in this case over in Galveston now, and it took forever. I think they wanted to hold on to it. Now it's time to start figuring out stage 2 after everything that had gone on. So
yeah, and I think stage 2 is what's the appropriate redress for what was done to you. I think we start looking at who knew that you were innocent, who was targeting you and maybe carrying out searches they shouldn't have, or pulling over you without reasonable suspicion, and what was their goal, and who was in on it, right? It seems like there were probably multiple governments in on it. So
it's been a pattern and practice now. It's shown itself in Layton. It's shown itself in Galveston. And I believe that we're seeing the workings of it happening again, quite possibly in Morgan County, Utah. And if I could, one thing I want to definitely throw out there and say about all this is, I mean, look, people need to kind of take notice at what's going on. This stuff's not being tolerated anymore, and it's going to get found out. You can't hide the records. And when it does come out, is it worth listening to a bunch of liars over in Mississippi that have continuously conspired over and over and over again? Their day of justice is coming very soon. And anybody out there, any other city that might possibly be in their line of fire as far as communicating stuff out, heed the warning, because Layton is now wrapped up in a bunch of mess because they took the information that was sent to them and then redisseminated it out. That's obviously a major issue. You got this Galveston issue that, Osteen spoke with 2 sheriff's deputies over in Lafayette County. Now the case is dismissed. Now look at all the liability over Galveston's head. Okay, all because they let Lafayette County, Mississippi, podunks. It's classy ignorance is what it is.
It's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I appreciate. That's wonderful news. I was, looking at coming down there, and we need to definitely talk about the other stuff, off of here. But I know that the clock is definitely ticking on some claims.
Yep. But overall, I think justice was delayed, but ultimately the system got it right in letting you free. So
I
glad we could
appreciate it.
help get you there.
You did a wonderful job, Ben.
Thank you.
I highly recommend this guy. If you're in the Houston, Texas area, if you have any personal injury, any probate, any Ben, why don't you go ahead and mention what your I know obviously you do handle some criminal and all that in civil rights, but why don't you go ahead and mention what your specialty is?
Sure. Yeah. Obviously, like you said, I do some criminal and civil rights. I've had some moderate success with it. It's not what I enjoy doing, but I do it because it's the right thing. But I'm kind of a nerd, and what I really like is writing things. I like writing contracts. I like writing wills. I like doing trusts. So, if you have that sort of need and you're in the Houston area, look me up. I'd be happy to help or refer you to somebody who can.
That's awesome. You did a great job, and best of all, it's kind of rare to find an attorney that actually will be there, pick up the phone, and he's a lot more accessible than and that's nothing. That's not saying that he doesn't have a full plate. He has a full plate, and he still makes himself accessible. So, fantastic.
Awesome. I appreciate the compliments.
Absolutely.
This was not supposed to be an ad for me. I came on to talk about the good news from Mr. Reardon. So,
so we want to. I think I kind of touched on this earlier, but there are things that have been talked about that have not been seen, proven,
right,
shown, and I think that's very important from a credibility standpoint to show that the things that I've been saying all along are supported by evidence, and I would like to I definitely want to I deserve full vindication at this point, and to me, full vindication goes farther than just a settlement. To me, full vindication is the truth, is people actually seeing the truth, because that goes a lot farther. Because it's just all this stuff has been a wrecking ball to my life. It's not only is it all just taking me to the lowest levels, but the government's favorite tool, the gaslighting. It's the lies and bullshit. Need to be shown. These people need to be discredited And a little bit of, credit needs to be added to the things that I've been saying all along that I think people have questioned. So.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I notice as I do the civil rights work and the criminal work, what I notice is that the government doesn't treat itself as if it's as if it's part of the people. They treat themselves as if they're separate from the people and they need to protect themselves, which goes against the whole idea of what government's supposed to be for, which is to protect us first and to be our servants. And instead they serve themselves and try to keep us out. So yeah, I totally agree.
See it all the time with locked doors, city halls and all that, I see it all the time.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. Well, thanks for having me here to talk about your case. And
I appreciate it. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
What's up, Leroy Truth? Tyrants beware. Good to have you. Hope everybody's doing all right tonight. If you tuned in earlier today, I did a live stream from the post office because this thing has been, everybody knew it was coming. You don't just lose as much time as I've lost to the just insane amount of corruption that has taken place. And I mean, it's a lot of stuff has come out in the wash, and you're going to see actually with this lawsuit that I'm going to go over, you're actually going to see firsthand yourself just the level of, I'm just going to say the level of fuckery that these people took. Let me, if you can, share this out. Do me a favor. I'm going to actually say it like Chili with Delete Laws says. Take your finger and just tap, tap. Just get 2 quick taps on the screen. Go ahead and throw a like on this video. Share this video out because this is some very important stuff that I'm going to go over. And if I can help any of you with a similar situation, I'll be happy to do it. These are the people that are named in the lawsuit. And I have every intention right now to amend this. I just had to get this filed by the right amount of time. Just so you know, in the state of Texas, for malicious prosecution, there's a 1-year statute of limitations. Now, with what happened with my case, there's actually 2 different claims of malicious prosecution because I was intentionally overcharged with a felony that they knew should never have been a felony, even if I was shit-hammered drunk and driving down the road in Texas. They could have only charged me lawfully with a misdemeanor. However, they intentionally overcharged me with a felony and kept me locked up in the Galveston County Jail for almost 11 months. I think I was in there for 8 under the felony before it got dismissed, or 8 or 9 under the felony before it got dismissed. They did that so they could keep a $100,000 bond on me and also to help set the stage for what Lafayette County did. They needed me charged with a felony so that they could come in and revoke my probation, my unsupervised probation, and put me in prison for 2 years, which is what they did. So I've got the defendants named as Officer William Osteen, lying ass Osteen. You got Sergeant Jack Doherty. He is the supervisor that was on scene. Jacob McDougal. He is the RN, the nurse at UTMB Hospital that took my blood, that kept sticking me over and over and over at the hospital. There were about six law enforcement officers that forcefully held me face down on the hospital bed. All this is going on, my hands were handcuffed behind my back. That's a violation of policy and procedure right there for the hospital. I was supposed to be unhandcuffed or handcuffed in the front. We got Hobie James. Funny thing about this is one of the Facebook messenger groups that I have, Lafayette County Audit. Apparently he was on my friends list on one of my old profiles and got added to that Facebook messenger group. And so he scopes out my stuff. He's a snake. Candace Beavers, Jeff Busby. He is the circuit clerk in Lafayette County, Mississippi. Got the city of Galveston, Texas. UTMB Hospital. John Doe officers 1 to 5, John and Jane Doe's 1 to 6. Okay. I plan to come back and amend this and actually specify who these individuals are. Complaint for damages. We're going to go over this. This civil rights action arises under 42 U.S. Code 1983 and 1985, challenging a coordinated interstate conspiracy to deprive plaintiff Matthew Oliver Reardon of his constitutional rights through false arrest, malicious prosecution, excessive force, deliberate fabrication of evidence, and procurement of a search warrant through perjury. This case involves a systematic violation of the plaintiff's First, Fourth, and 14th Amendment rights by Texas law enforcement officers acting in concert with Mississippi officials to manufacture a felony DWI charge, despite conclusive evidence of plaintiff's sobriety and apparent retaliatory animus based on plaintiff's status as a First Amendment auditor. And you'll see why I use that, because it was something that Osteen specifically said when he came to my window. One of the first things out of his mouth. 2. On August 11, 2023, defendants orchestrated plaintiff's arrest and detention based on fabricated evidence, forced medical procedures, performed pursuant to a warrant obtained through perjury, and a deliberately false enhancement claim that transformed a misdemeanor into a felony charge. This coordinated scheme resulted in plaintiff's wrongful incarceration for approximately 11 months under a $100,000 bond, all while defendants possessed exculpatory evidence proving plaintiff's innocence and the falsity of the enhancement allegations. 3. Central to this case is Officer Osteen's procurement of a blood draw warrant through deliberate perjury and material representations in his sworn affidavit. As established in Franks v. Delaware, when law enforcement officers make material false statements in warrant affidavits with knowledge of their falsity or reckless disregard for the truth, such warrants provide no constitutional protection, and all evidence obtained thereunder must be suppressed as fruit of the poisonous tree, under Wong Sun v. United States. 4, the constitutional violations. Hey, Wingspan, welcome to the live stream. Good to have you. The constitutional violations alleged herein were not isolated incidents of poor judgment, but rather the product of a deliberate, coordinated scheme involving multiple law enforcement agencies across state lines, motivated in part by discriminatory animus against plaintiff based on his exercise of First Amendment rights as a government accountability advocate, commonly known as an auditor. 5, this action seeks redress for violations of plaintiff's rights under the First, Fourth, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution, conspiracy to deprive civil rights under 42 U.S. Code 1985, and related state law claims including compensatory and punitive damages, declaratory relief, and injunctive relief to prevent future violations. Jurisdiction and venue, that's, I'm not even going to read that because it just basically specifies that the jurisdiction is right where it's at. Parties. Plaintiff Matthew Oliver Reardon is an individual residing in Clearfield, Utah. At all times relevant to this complaint, plaintiff was a visitor to Galveston, Texas, traveling through the jurisdiction when the constitutional violations alleged herein occurred. Plaintiff is an independent investigative journalist, covers stories of public interest, and is known to exercise his First Amendment rights as a government accountability advocate. Defendant Officer William Osteen is a sworn law enforcement officer employed by the Galveston Police Department. At all times relevant herein, Osteen was acting under color of state law within the scope of his employment. Osteen is sued in his individual capacity for money damages. Osteen was certified as a certified breath test operator by the state of Texas, yet deliberately misrepresented to plaintiff that no breathalyzer equipment was available. Osteen was the primary investigating officer who initiated and pursued the false charges against plaintiff, made material misrepresentations and perjurious statements in his warrant affidavit, deliberately omitted exculpatory evidence from his documentation, coordinated with out-of-state officials to fabricate enhancement allegations, and committed perjury in subsequent judicial proceedings. Osteen repeatedly disabled his body-worn camera audio during critical portions of the investigation, demonstrating consciousness of wrongdoing. Defendant Sergeant Jack Doherty is a supervisory law enforcement officer employed by the Galveston Police Department. At all times relevant herein, Doherty was acting under color of state law within the scope of his employment. Doherty is sued in his individual capacity for money damages. Doherty was present during the constitutional violations, had supervisory authority over the officers involved, and failed to intervene to prevent or stop the violations despite clear opportunity and duty to do so. 12. Defendant Jacob McDougal is a registered nurse employed by UTMB Health, who at all times relevant herein was acting under color of state law in conjunction with law enforcement. McDougal was sued in his individual capacity for money damages. McDougal performed the forced blood draw on plaintiff while plaintiff was restrained by multiple officers without plaintiff's consent, despite plaintiff's explicit objections and stated fear of needles, pursuant to a warrant that was procured through perjury and material representations. 13. Defendant Hobie James is a sworn law enforcement officer employed as a deputy by the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department in Mississippi. At all times relevant herein, James was acting under color of state law. James is sued in his individual capacity for money damages. On the night of plaintiff's arrest, James initiated contact with the Galveston Police Department and provided false information regarding plaintiff's criminal history, specifically falsely claiming plaintiff had sustained a final conviction for DUI in Mississippi, when no such final conviction existed. 14. Defendant Candace Beavers is a sworn law enforcement officer employed as a deputy by the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department in Mississippi. At all times relevant herein, Beavers was acting under color of state law. Beavers is sued in her individual capacity for money damages. Beavers previously provided false testimony in Mississippi proceedings involving the plaintiff and participated in the coordinated scheme to provide false information to Texas authorities to support the fabricated felony enhancement. 15. Defendant Jeff Busby is the circuit clerk of Lafayette County, Mississippi. At all times relevant herein, Busby was acting under color of state law within the scope of his official duties. Busby is sued in his individual capacity for money damages. Busby provided official correspondence on county letterhead.
Midnight wheels rolling slow down a coastal Texas line. No drinks, no buzz, just a clear head and peace of mind. Then a bad stepped out with a smirk and a plan. Said, this one's an otter, not your average man. He ignored the law, he ignored my breath. Wrote up a script that would fake me to death. Eyes weren't glassy, words weren't slurred, but he made up a storm from things never heard. They signed a warrant for a lie, drew my blood and watched me cry. Said I smelled like booze, hell I hadn't drank in years. But the truth don't matter when the system's run by fear. They jailed me up and threw away the key, while my kids asked daddy when you coming free. It was murder of the truth in a badge and tie. They locked me down on a warrant for a lie. UTMB hands with needles like knives, didn't show no paper, didn't care about rights. Already stood there, knew it wasn't just, but back the blue line, let me bleed in the dust. Meanwhile back east they were ringing the phone, Mississippi snakes with a thirst for my bones. James and Beavers, Busby too, sent lies through the wire like it was all true. They signed a warrant for a lie, drew my blood and watched me cry. Said I smelled like booze, hell I hadn't drank in years. But the truth don't matter when the system's run by fear. They jailed me up and threw away the key, while my name got dragged through Galveston Sea. They made a felony out of thin blue sky just to silence my voice with a warrant for a lie. And the blood test said 0, the indictment said 3. my story don't bend, and I'll fight these devils straight through to the end. Cause the truth stood up and the charges died, and I've still got my name, my grit, my pride. No man should ever be crucified by the stroke of a pen on a warrant for a lie.
I like that song. I love it. All right, let's get back to it. Welcome, the Vigilance Committee. Municipal and institutional defendants. Defendant City of Galveston is a municipal corporation organized and existing under the laws of the state of Texas. The City of Galveston employs defendants Osteen and Doherty and is responsible for their training, supervision, and discipline. The City of Galveston maintained policies, customs, and practices that were the moving force behind the constitutional violations alleged herein. The City of Galveston is sued for money damages and to the extent permitted by law, and for prospective injunctive and declaratory relief. Defendant UTMB Health is a component of the University of Texas system, and it operates as a state actor providing medical services. UTMB Health employed defendant McDougal and other medical personnel who participated in the constitutional violations alleged herein. Very confusing. UTMB Health, the hospital in Galveston, is sued for money damages to the extent permitted by law, and for prospective injunctive and declaratory relief. Defendants John Doe officers 1 to 5 are sworn law enforcement officers employed by the Galveston Police Department whose identities are currently unknown to plaintiff. These officers participated in the physical restraint of plaintiff during the forced blood draw and other constitutional violations. They are sued in their individual capacities for money damages. 19. Defendants John and Jane Does 1 to 6 are employees or agents of UTMB Health whose identities are currently unknown to plaintiff. These individuals participated in or facilitated the forced medical procedures performed on plaintiff pursuant to a warrant procured through fraud. They are sued in their individual capacities for money damages. Here's the facts. Hey Gloria, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. All right, y'all share this out, please. If you haven't liked the stream yet, you can either, drag down and hit that like button, or you can double tap the screen, and that is apparently supposed to give the thumbs up. So helps out the algorithm doing this to because I think it should be done, honestly. And if I can help some people along the way, then great. All right, here's the background and context. This case arises from a coordinated interstate conspiracy to deprive the plaintiff of his constitutional rights through the fabrication of evidence, procurement of search warrants through perjury, malicious prosecution, and excessive force. The conspiracy involved law enforcement officers and officials in both Texas and Mississippi who communicated directly to share false information and coordinate prosecutorial actions designed to harm plaintiff in retaliation for his previous legal challenges to Mississippi authorities and his exercise of First Amendment rights as a government accountability advocate. 21. Plaintiff's constitutional rights were violated not through isolated acts of misconduct, but through a deliberate scheme orchestrated by multiple defendants across state lines. The evidence establishes that Mississippi officials, including defendants James, Beavers, and Busby, initiated contact with Texas authorities on the night of plaintiff's arrest. And continued to provide false information throughout the prosecution to ensure plaintiff's continued incarceration and prosecution. Like I said, I've got to amend this. James and Beavers initiated contact with the Texas authorities, and I had accidentally put all Lafayette County defendants right there. So that'll be, Busby will be out of that little part right there in the amended complaint. 22. At approximately 2 a.m. on August 11, 2023, plaintiff was driving through Galveston, Texas when he was pulled over by Officer Larry Murph for allegedly reckless driving. Joe Coe, Cop Watch, very good to have you on here. Plaintiff had not consumed any alcoholic beverages and had maintained sobriety for over 3 years prior to this incident. Officer Murph conducted the initial stop, but quickly transferred the investigation to defendant Osteen, who assumed control of the encounter and made all subsequent decisions regarding plaintiff's detention and arrest. 24. Upon approaching plaintiff's vehicle, one of the first questions defendant Osteen asked was, "You an auditor, man?" Osteen then informed another officer, "Hey, I'm doing this one. This is an auditor." And he really said that. I've seen the body cam. He legitimately Right after that, after he left my window, he went to the officer and said, "Hey, look, I've got this. It's an auditor." These statements captured on body camera footage demonstrate that Osteen's subsequent conduct was motivated not by evidence of criminal activity, but by discriminatory animus against plaintiff based on his exercise of First Amendment rights as a government accountability advocate. Hey, I appreciated East Carbon. 25. Throughout the encounter, plaintiff was cooperative and compliant with lawful orders. When questioned about alcohol consumption, plaintiff truthfully informed officers that he had not consumed alcohol and had been sober for over 3 years. Plaintiff explicitly and repeatedly requested to take a breathalyzer test to demonstrate his sobriety. 26. Defendant Osteen falsely claimed that the Galveston Police Department did not have access to a portable breathalyzer device and refused to allow plaintiff to take a breath test. This representation was false, as breathalyzer equipment was available and routinely used by the Department for DWI investigations, and Osteen was certified as a certified breath test operator by the state of Texas. 27. Instead of allowing the breath test that plaintiff requested, defendant Osteen insisted that plaintiff submit to field sobriety test. Plaintiff declined to perform field sobriety tests, citing their subjective nature and his constitutional right to refuse such test. Plaintiff's refusal was lawful and cannot constitute probable cause for arrest. 28. Despite plaintiff's continued cooperation, his explicit request for a breath test, his truthful statements about sobriety, and the absence of any objective indicators of intoxication, defendant Osteen placed plaintiff under arrest for driving while intoxicated. Fraudulent warrant procurement and perjurious affidavit. 29. Following the arrest at approximately 2:49 a.m. on August 11, 2023, defendant Osteen applied for and obtained a search warrant for plaintiff's blood. However, as detailed in a subsequent motion for Frank's hearing, filed in the underlying criminal case, Osteen's warrant affidavit contained numerous material false statements made with knowledge of their falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. 30. Specifically, Osteen's affidavit falsely claimed he observed the following signs of alcohol intoxication: an odor of an unknown alcoholic beverage emitting from the vehicle. B. To have watery, glossy eyes. C. Walking heavy-footed. D. Speech slurred and thick-tongued. And eventually, okay, the videos will come out. And it'll be after this is all, it won't be while this is pending. It'll be after this is all resolved, okay? You'll be able to see that none of this stuff is true. None of it. E. Eyes watery and dilated. And F. Odor of alcoholic beverage on breath, moderate, okay? 31. These statements were materially false and made with reckless disregard for the truth, as evidenced by the subsequent toxicology report showing 0 alcohol content in plaintiff's blood. B. Osteen's own body camera footage contradicting his claims. C. His own statements on camera clarifying that he smelled no alcohol on plaintiff's breath, only from the vehicle. D. His later contradictory testimony under oath in judicial proceedings. And this would be the revocation proceeding in Mississippi where he testified over Zoom. It was more important for him and them to put me in prison right then than to make sure that they didn't just completely screw it up and give the farm away on their conspiracy. Okay. 32. Most damaging to Osteen's credibility. He later testified under oath in plaintiff's probation revocation hearing with completely contradictory observations, claiming plaintiff had pinpoint pupils instead of dilated pupils, was talking extremely fast instead of having slurred, thick-tongued speech, and was extremely jittery instead of heavy-footed. These fundamentally opposite observations cannot both be true and demonstrate either perjury in the warrant affidavit or perjury in the subsequent testimony. One or the other. Additionally, Osteen deliberately omitted from his warrant affidavit the material fact that plaintiff had explicitly requested and consented to a breathalyzer test. Instead, falsely characterizing plaintiff's lawful refusal to perform subjective field sobriety test as a refusal to provide a sample in violation of the Texas implied consent law. They actually sent me something to my address saying that my license was suspended because I refused a breath, or it's like, I never refused a breath test. I kept asking for it. They refused me the test. 34. Under Franks v. Delaware, when a defendant makes a substantial preliminary showing that false statements were knowingly and intentionally, or with a reckless disregard for the truth, included in a warrant affidavit, and if the allegedly false statements are necessary to the finding of probable cause. The Fourth Amendment requires that the warrant be voided and all evidence obtained thereunder be suppressed, as fruit of the poisonous tree. 35. Following procurement of the fraudulent warrant, defendants transported plaintiff to UTMB hospital for the purpose of obtaining a blood sample. Although a warrant existed, plaintiff was never informed of its existence, despite his repeated request for legal justification for the procedure. Upon arrival at UTMB hospital, plaintiff was escorted to a treatment room where he was surrounded by approximately 6 law enforcement officers, including defendants Osteen and Doherty, along with John Doe officers 1 to 5. 37. Defendant Sergeant Doherty was specifically summoned to the scene by defendant Osteen when plaintiff requested a supervisor. Doherty arrived at UTMB hospital with full knowledge of the circumstances and observed the entire forced medical procedure that followed. 38. Plaintiff clearly and repeatedly stated his objection to the blood draw procedure. Plaintiff explicitly informed all present that he had a severe fear of needles and did not consent to the procedure. Plaintiff continued to request that he be allowed to take a breath test instead of the invasive blood draw. 39. Despite plaintiff's clear objections and explicit refusal to consent, and despite his repeated request to see the warrant or other legal authorization, defendants proceeded with the blood draw by force. Plaintiff was handcuffed behind his back and physically restrained by multiple officers while defendant McDougal attempted to draw blood. 40. The initial blood draw attempt was unsuccessful, causing additional pain and trauma to the plaintiff. Defendant McDougal made multiple attempts to obtain blood, requiring repeated needle insertions while plaintiff remained restrained and objecting. 41. Throughout the forced procedure, plaintiff invoked his right to counsel and continued to object to the blood draw while requesting to see the warrant that authorized it. These objections and requests were ignored by all defendants present. 42. Even where a warrant exists, the execution of that warrant must be reasonable under the Fourth Amendment. The defendant's failure to inform plaintiff of the warrant's existence, their use of excessive force to overcome his constitutional objections, and their deliberate infliction of additional pain through multiple needle insertions constituted an unreasonable execution of the warrant. See United States v. Ramirez. Moreover, because the warrant was procured through materially false statements made with reckless disregard for the truth, and it provided no constitutional justification for the search under Franks v. Delaware, and the search violated plaintiff's Fourth Amendment rights. 44. Defendant Doherty, as the supervising officer present, had the authority and duty to intervene and prevent the constitutional violations occurring in his presence. Despite having clear opportunity to stop the unlawful conduct, Doherty failed to take any action and instead allowed the violations to proceed. The exculpatory evidence and continuing prosecution. On September 6, 2023, the Texas Department of Public Safety issued an official toxicology report confirming that no alcohol was detected in plaintiff's blood sample. This report conclusively established plaintiff's sobriety at the time of arrest and demonstrated that no probable cause existed for the DWI charge. 46. The zero blood alcohol finding also proved definitively that Officer Osteen's warrant affidavit contained materially false statements, as it would be physically impossible for plaintiff to emit a moderate odor of alcohol from his breath or exhibit alcohol-related impairment symptoms while having zero alcohol in his system. Despite receiving this exculpatory evidence, proving both plaintiff's innocence and the falsity of the warrant affidavit, defendants continued the prosecution and took affirmative steps to enhance the charges against plaintiff from a misdemeanor to a felony. The enhancement from misdemeanor to felony required proof that plaintiff had sustained 2 or more DWI convictions. This enhancement was critical because it transformed what would have been a minor misdemeanor, with no alcohol detected, into a serious felony, carrying substantial prison time and bond requirements. At exactly 2:41 a.m. on August 11, 2023, while plaintiff was being transported to UTMB Hospital for the forced blood draw, defendant Hobie James, a deputy with the Lafayette County Sheriff's Department in Mississippi, placed a direct phone call to the Galveston Police Department dispatch. This call is documented in official GPD call logs and represents the initiation of interstate conspiracy alleged herein. Hey, Lisa Lynn, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for joining. 50. The timing of James' call occurring during the active arrest and forced blood draw procedure demonstrates premeditation and coordination. James specifically requested to speak with the officer that arrested him, indicating prior knowledge of plaintiff's arrest and the specific officers involved. 51. During subsequent calls documented in GPD records, defendant James provided materially false information to Galveston officers regarding plaintiff's criminal history. Specifically, James falsely represented that plaintiff had sustained a final conviction for DUI in Mississippi, when in fact no such final conviction existed due to pending appellate proceedings that James knew were active. 52. At 4:04 a.m., defendant Candace Beavers, who had previously provided false testimony under oath in Mississippi proceedings against plaintiff in 2022, called Galveston PD to reinforce the false criminal history information. Beavers' participation demonstrated the coordinated nature of the conspiracy and her personal animus toward the plaintiff. 53. The false information provided by defendants James and Beavers was material to the Texas prosecution because it formed the sole basis for the felony enhancement. It transformed a misdemeanor charge with zero blood alcohol content into a third-degree felony carrying a $100,000 bond and potential imprisonment of 2 to 10 years. 54. In approximately November 2023, after receiving inquiry from Galveston County prosecutors about the status of plaintiff's Mississippi case, defendant Jeff Busby, in his official capacity as the circuit court clerk, Lafayette County, provided a letter on official county letterhead to Galveston County District Attorney's Office. This letter falsely stated that no appeal was pending in plaintiff's Mississippi DUI case. Defendant Busby's representation was materially false, as an appeal was in fact pending at the time of his correspondence, and this information was readily available in the official court records under his control. The false representation was designed to make it appear that plaintiff's Mississippi case had reached final disposition, thereby providing documentary support for the felony enhancement in Texas. 56. The coordination between Mississippi and Texas officials was not coincidental or inadvertent. The evidence establishes a clear temporal sequence. 1. Plaintiff's arrest at 2:11 a.m. 2. Mississippi officials' immediate contact with Texas authorities at 2:41 a.m. 3. Provision of false criminal history information designed to support felony charges. 4. Continued coordination to suppress exculpatory evidence. And 5. Provision of false official documentation to prosecutors. This sequence demonstrates that these defendants acted in concert with the specific intent to deprive plaintiff of his constitutional rights and to ensure his continued prosecution and incarceration. 57. Based on the false information provided by the Mississippi defendants and despite possessing exculpatory evidence proving plaintiff's sobriety, the Galveston County District Attorney's Office sought and obtained felony indictment against the plaintiff on December 7, 2023. 58. The indictment charged plaintiff with felony DWI third or more, falsely alleging that plaintiff had sustained 2 or more prior DWI convictions. This allegation was known to be false by Texas authorities who had received information from Mississippi officials that contradicted the enhancement claim. 59. The false felony indictment resulted in plaintiff being held under a $100,000 bond, which was substantially higher than it would have been imposed for a misdemeanor charge, or if accurate information about plaintiff's criminal history had been provided. 60. Plaintiff remained incarcerated from August 11, 2023 to approximately July 2024, a period of nearly 11 months due to the false charges and enhancement allegations fabricated by the defendants. And of course, at that time, I was including like whenever I got extradited over to Mississippi. It was about that time that I went off to prison, where I was robbed of a trial, because 2 weeks prior to trial on the misdemeanor, I was extradited to Mississippi. This was part of their plan, and they had a lot lower of a burden of proof to meet, and they had Osteen's lies, and they sent me to prison before this false charge was even adjudicated. H. The Franks motion and prosecutorial capitulation. 61. In February 2025, plaintiff's criminal defense attorney filed a comprehensive motion for a Franks hearing, documenting in detail the material false statements in Officer Osteen's warrant affidavit and presenting evidence of Osteen's perjurious conduct in subsequent proceedings. 62. The Franks motion presented compelling evidence that Osteen had committed perjury, both in his warrant affidavit and in his subsequent testimony, including his false claims under oath that the toxicology report had found alcohol in plaintiff's system when it had not. 63. Faced with overwhelming evidence of Officer Osteen's perjury and the invalidity of the search warrant, the Galveston County District Attorney's Office dismissed all charges against the plaintiff just days before the scheduled Franks hearing, explicitly stating that the state cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt the charges against the plaintiff. They didn't want Osteen testifying. That's what that was all about, 100%. I can tell you right now, guaranteed 100%. They held on to their bad hand as long as they possibly could. But when it came down to it, when we had the hearing set up to put Osteen on the stand about his intentional lies, okay, that was going to be devastating. They decided they had to throw it out at that point, so there wasn't any more of a record of it. They let go of their bad hand. 63. Faced with overwhelming evidence of Officer Osteen's perjury and the invalidity of the search, 64. The dismissal represents a favorable termination of the prosecution for purposes of plaintiff's malicious prosecution claims and confirms the absence of probable cause for all charges, both misdemeanor and felony. 65. The timing of the dismissal immediately before a hearing where Officer Osteen would be required to defend his contradictory statements under oath demonstrates the prosecution's recognition that the charges were unsupportable and that Osteen's conduct was indefensible. I. Ongoing retaliatory conduct and pattern of constitutional violations. 66. The prosecution and continued charging of the plaintiff even after the dismissal of the felony charges represents ongoing retaliatory conduct designed to trigger revocation of plaintiff's probation in Mississippi and to punish him for his exercise of First Amendment rights. 67. The interstate nature of the conspiracy and the coordination between defendants in different jurisdictions establishes a pattern of conduct designed to circumvent plaintiff's constitutional protections and deny him due process of law. 68. The evidence demonstrates that plaintiff's targeting and prosecution were motivated not by evidence of criminal conduct, but by discriminatory animus based on his status as a First Amendment auditor and retaliatory animus for his previous legal challenges to Mississippi authorities. I'm sure they've heard the caught red-handed by now, but in case they haven't, we're going to go ahead and we're going to listen to that right now.
Caught red-handed, their lies laid bare. These public officials thought nobody would care. A conspiracy deep, but the truth's coming through. The system's cracking, now they'll pay their due. Lies and corruption, they thought they'd control, but justice is burning, exposing their soul. They built this on deceit, but their cover is blown. Now the guilty must answer for the seeds they've sown. Down in Galveston, it started that night. Osteen and Doretti turned wrong into right. Said I was drunk, claimed the smell in the air, but no alcohol touched me, their proof wasn't there. They locked me up 11 months in a cell. Fabricated charges, a personal hell. They twisted the law, made me a pawn, but their conspiracies unravel and it won't last long. A growing plot, their power abused, but I'm breaking the chains, their lies are diffused. The truth's on my side and it's ready to speak, exposing their game, bringing justice to the weak. Caught red-handed, their lies laid bare. These public officials thought nobody would care. A conspiracy deep, but the truth's coming through. The system's cracking, now they'll pay their due. Lies and corruption, they thought they control, but justice is burning, exposing their soul. They built this on deceit, but the cover is blown. Now the guilty must answer for the seeds they've sown. Extradited from Galveston back to Lafayette, 2 weeks before trial, the lies were set. Then Ben Creekmore played his false hand, fictitious evidence in his corrupt plan. Judge Tolleson fell for the charade they showed. 2 years in prison, down a dark road. Osteen hit the stand, swore oath after oath, but his lies cracked under the weight of my growth. July 18th, they thought they'd won, but justice don't sleep, the truth has begun. Their house of cards is shaking, ready to fall. I'm standing tall, calling out them all. Caught red-handed, their lies laid bare. These public officials thought nobody would care. A conspiracy deep, but the truth's coming through. The system's cracking, now they'll pay their due. Lies and corruption, they thought they control. Sentence vacated, exposing their soul. They built it on deceit, but the cover is blown. Now the guilty must answer for the seeds they've sown. Candy Beavers, Hobie James played the dirty part, conspired with Galveston to tear me apart. Jeff Busby sent false statements to the district attorney, and when the heat came down, it was so concerning. A snake in the grass hiding behind his crew, but the truth reveals everything they do. Their lies run deep, but justice runs deeper. Each betrayal exposed, the climb's getting steeper. They thought they'd silence me, bury my voice, but now it's my time and I've made my choice to shine a light, make sure these criminals pay. Justice is coming and it's here to stay. I lost it all, but I've still got the fight. Damn right, the truth's a weapon cutting through the night. The sentence declared unlawful, the order vacated. I'm vindicated, liberated, and of course I'm elated. Caught red-handed, their lies laid bare. These public officials thought nobody would care. A conspiracy deep, but the truth's coming through. The system's cracking, now they'll pay their due. Lies and corruption, they thought they control. Sentence vacated, exposing their soul. They built it on deceit, but the cover is blown. Now the guilty must answer for the seeds they've sown. Yeah, pour again. Damn right, the truth's a weapon, cutting through the night. The sentence declared unlawful, the order vacated.
So, you know me, I like my music, and here's the thing. At the end of the day, I want these people to know, if there's one thing that, one message I wanted to give, it's that you mess with the wrong fucking person. Okay? Obviously, you could stop making it worse, because it's just going to keep inflaming the situation that much more. I mean, by now, you bad actors that are on here, if you're watching right now, I just want you to know that I'm going to make sure that your name lives in infamy for the rest of your life. In fact, I'm actually working on a full and complete album that's all about you bad actors. You earned it. What can you do? Are you gonna sue me over First Amendment stuff when you did this stuff? So you earned it, all right? And push my fucking buttons again, all right? So we've got the claims for relief. Let's see. Count 1, malicious prosecution. As I said, I'm going to be amending the complaint. Going to be adding defendants. I won't be taking defendants away. I'll be adding defendants. And I'm going to be adding counts. Because there's a second malicious prosecution count on here. Because I was ultimately charged twice. And I have 2 different dismissals. And there's a malicious prosecution for the first one, for when the felony was dismissed. And then the dumbasses recharged me with a misdemeanor. What they should have done is they should have just dismissed it right then. They would have saved themselves a malicious prosecution claim. They would have just had 1 instead of 2. But now, because they recharged me and all this other stuff happened, and then they dismissed, they're getting sued. They're going to get sued for 2 different malicious prosecution claims, and they did it. And I realized that there's a couple of things in particular that left out of here. For one, they stole my car and sold my car at public auction. I didn't even touch on that. I was touching on, the bigger picture. But they seized my car and they sold it at public auction. And that was pretty personal. They stole the keys and used the keys to bait me up to the police department to rearrest me. The other one is Osteen basically presented everything to the district attorney that night whenever they intentionally chose to charge me with a felony. There's been collusion with Lafayette County. I have every intention of suing the Galveston County District Attorney's Office as well. So when I amend the complaint, I guarantee you the Galveston County District Attorney's Office is going to be on there. Might even have the Lafayette County District Attorney's Office on there. And, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to come out in the wash on discovery. I can't wait for discovery, and I can't wait for depositions. Yeah. You cops out there watching, have you ever seen a dirty cop, have his deposition put on the internet and it goes viral? Just think about that situation for a second, because that situation's actually a reality coming. 69. Plaintiff incorporates by reference all preceding allegations as if fully set forth herein. You retaliate on me for what you deserve for taking legal action, you'll be opening up a whole set of problems that I'm telling you don't want. 70. Defendants Osteen, Doherty, James, Beavers, and Busby, acting under color of state law, initiated and continued criminal proceedings against the plaintiff without probable cause and through the procurement of search warrants based on material false statements. Defendant Osteen procured the blood draw warrant through material misrepresentations and perjurious statements in a sworn affidavit in violation of Franks v. Delaware. These false statements included but were not limited to fabricated observations of alcohol-related impairment that were contradicted by the subsequent 0 blood alcohol toxicology report. What's up with you, Jordan? Welcome, welcome, welcome. 72. These defendants knew or should have known that no probable cause existed for the DWI charges, particularly the felony enhancement, as evidenced by the toxicology report showing 0 alcohol in plaintiff's system. B. The absence of any final Mississippi conviction to support the enhancement. C. The pending appeal that precluded any final conviction. D. Their own communications acknowledging the lack of evidence. They actually acknowledge over the radio, on phone calls, that they've run my history. There is no history of a DUI in Mississippi. So even with running an NCIC report and seeing nothing in the record about it, they still chose to intentionally overcharge me. The material contradictions in Osteen's sworn statements. 73. Defendants actively participated in the initiation and continuation of the prosecution by providing false statements or false information to prosecutors. making perjurious statements in warrant affidavits, omitting material exculpatory evidence from reports, coordinating across state lines to maintain false charges, and providing false official correspondence to support the prosecution. 74. The criminal proceedings terminated in plaintiff's favor when the state dismissed the charges just days before the Franks hearing, explicitly acknowledging its inability to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. As a result, 75, as a direct and proximate result of defendant's conduct, plaintiffs suffered severe injuries, including deprivation of liberty for approximately 11 months, damage to reputation and standing in the community, severe emotional distress and mental anguish, financial losses including legal fees and lost income, and ongoing trauma and anxiety. 76. Defendant's conduct was objectively unreasonable and violated clearly established constitutional rights, including the right to be free from prosecution based on fabricated evidence and fraudulently obtained warrants, including any defense of qualified immunity. Count 2. Unreasonable search and excessive force under 42 U.S. Code 1983 under the Fourth Amendment against defendants Osteen, Doherty, McDougal, and John Doe officers 1 to 5. 77. Plaintiff incorporates by reference all preceding allegations as if fully set forth herein. 78. Defendant subjected plaintiff to an unreasonable search and excessive force in violation of the Fourth Amendment by conducting a blood draw pursuant to a warrant procured through fraud and by using unreasonable force in the execution of the warrant. 79. Under Franks v. Delaware, a search warrant obtained through material false statements made with knowledge of their falsity or reckless disregard for the truth provides no constitutional protection, and the search conducted pursuant to such a warrant violates the Fourth Amendment. 80. Even if the warrant had been validly obtained, defendant's execution of the warrant was unreasonable under the circumstances. The Fourth Amendment requires that searches be conducted in a reasonable manner. See United States v. Ramirez. 81. The defendant's conduct was unreasonable because they failed to inform plaintiff of the warrant's existence despite his repeated request for legal justification. Used excessive force to restrain plaintiff during the procedure, ignored his medical concerns about needles. D. Performed multiple unsuccessful needle insertions causing unnecessary pain. And E. Refused to allow him to take the breath test he had requested and consented to. 82. The physical force used to restrain plaintiff during the blood draw was objectively unreasonable under the circumstances, as plaintiff posed no threat to officer safety or flight risk, and the force was used solely to overcome his constitutional objection to an unlawfully obtained search warrant. 83. Defendants McDougal and John Doe officers 1 to 5 actively participated in the constitutional violation by physically restraining plaintiff and performing the blood draw despite the fraudulent nature of the warrant authorizing it. 84. Defendant Doherty, as a supervisory officer present during the violations, had the authority and duty to intervene, but failed to take any action to prevent the constitutional violations. What's up, Wingspan? 85. The defendant's conduct was objectively unreasonable and violated clearly established constitutional rights, of which a reasonable officer would have known. Count 3. First Amendment retaliation. 42 U.S. Code 1983 against defendants Osteen and Doherty. 86. Plaintiff incorporates by reference all preceding allegations as if fully set forth herein. 87. Defendants Osteen and Doherty violated plaintiff's First Amendment rights by retaliating against him for his exercise of constitutionally protected speech and expressive conduct as a government accountability advocate. 88. Plaintiff engaged in constitutionally protected activity by exercising his First Amendment rights to observe, record, and critique government conduct in his capacity as a First Amendment auditor. 89. Defendant's immediate identification of plaintiff as a auditor and Osteen's statement, "I'm doing this one," this is an auditor, demonstrate that his subsequent arrest and prosecution were motivated by discriminatory animus against the plaintiff based on his exercise of First Amendment rights. Defendants took adverse action against plaintiff, including arrest, prosecution, and denial of his request for a breath test that was motivated by his protected First Amendment activity. 91. The adverse actions taken by defendants would chill a person of ordinary firmness from continuing to engage in protected First Amendment activity. See Hartman v. Moore. 92. Yeah, they do. Defendants' retaliatory conduct violated clearly established First Amendment rights and is not protected by qualified immunity. Defendant Doherty and John Doe officers 1 to 5 had a constitutional duty to intervene to prevent the violation of plaintiff's constitutional rights when they had the opportunity to do so. These defendants observed the constitutional violations occurring in their presence, including the execution of a fraudulently obtained warrant and excessive force used against the plaintiff. 96. The defendants had sufficient time and opportunity to intervene to prevent the violations, but failed to take any action to protect plaintiff's constitutional rights. The failure to intervene was objectively unreasonable under the circumstances and violated clearly established law requiring officers to prevent constitutional violations when they had the opportunity to do so. Count 5, conspiracy to deprive civil rights. So paragraph 2 and paragraph 3 of 1985. 98. Plaintiff incorporates by reference all preceding allegations as if fully set forth herein. 99. Defendants conspired among themselves and with others to deprive the plaintiff of his constitutional rights under color of state law in violation of 42 U.S. Code 1985, paragraphs 2 and 3. A. Coordination between Texas and Mississippi law enforcement officials. B. Sharing of false information to support fabricated charges. C. Procurement of search warrants through perjury. D. Suppression of exculpatory evidence. E. Provision of false official correspondence. And F. Continued prosecution despite knowledge of the charge's falsity. And honestly, that paragraph right there spells out RICO, civil RICO. I mean, I probably should add that on there. I should probably cut my teeth with a civil RICO right here.
Mark Arrington. Your name
Don
is
Matthews.
Don Matthews?
Yeah.
They said it didn't happen, even when the footage showed it. They said you misunderstood, even when you quoted them word for word, for word. They said you were unstable, even when the system was falling apart. This isn't confusion, it's strategy. Gaslighting, the government's favorite tool. But every time they lie, another camera rolls. Every time they deny, another file uploads. Truth is the new rebellion, and we're filming it in real time. This is the gaslight anthem. Is the gaslight anthem. They said it didn't happen, even when the footage showed it. They said you misunderstood, even when you quoted them word for word, word for word, for word. They said you were unstable, even when the system was falling apart. This isn't confusion, it's strategy. Gaslighting, the government's favorite tool. But every time they lie, another camera rolls. Every time they deny, another file uploads. Truth is the new rebellion, and we're filming it in real time. This is the gaslight anthem. Is the gaslight anthem. Is the gaslight anthem. Is the gaslight anthem. Gaslighting, the government's favorite tool. But every time they lie, another camera rolls. Every time they deny, another file uploads. Truth is the new rebellion, and we're filming it in real time. This It's the gaslight anthem. It's the gaslight anthem. This is the gaslight anthem. It's the gaslight anthem.
101. Defendants acted pursuant to an agreement or meeting of the minds to deprive plaintiff of his constitutional rights as evidenced by their coordinated conduct across state lines and their mutual assistance in maintaining false charges. 102. The conspiracy was motivated by retaliatory animus against plaintiff based on his previous legal challenges to Mississippi authorities and discriminatory animus based on his exercise of First Amendment rights as a government accountability advocate. Now, they should get the capital punishment for what they've done, because they're not going to stop. It's never going to stop. It's treason is what they've committed the crime of treason. 103. Defendants committed overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy, including but not limited to the false arrest and prosecution, interstate communications sharing false information, the procurement of fraudulent search warrants, the forced blood draw, the provision of false official correspondence, and the maintenance of prosecution despite exculpatory evidence. As a result of the conspiracy, plaintiffs suffered the injuries alleged herein, including deprivation of liberty, emotional distress, and reputational harm. Count 6, municipal liability. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Deliberate indifference. Monell claim against defendant City of Galveston. Okay. 105, the plaintiff incorporates, yada yada. 106, the City of Galveston is liable under Monell v. Department of Social Services for the constitutional violations committed by its employees as these violations resulted. So in order to actually sue a municipality, you've got to get around the Monell claim. You have to show that they knew about something and they didn't correct it. They knew or they should have known, and they did nothing to correct it. And that's where you truly get vested with the standing to sue a municipality. 107, the City of Galveston maintained policies, customs, or practices that were the moving force behind the constitutional violations, including inadequate training regarding constitutional requirements for warrant applications and DWI investigations. B. Failure to implement proper supervisory oversight to prevent perjury in warrant affidavits. C. Failure to discipline officers for constitutional violations and perjurious conduct. D. Customs permitting discriminatory targeting of First Amendment auditors. And E. Deliberate indifference to patterns of misconduct by officers like Osteen. 108, the city's policies and customs demonstrated deliberate indifference to the constitutional rights of individuals subjected to DWI investigations and arrests, particularly those engaged in First Amendment protected activity. 109, the constitutional violations alleged herein were not isolated incidents, but reflected systemic deficiencies in the city's training, supervision, and oversight of its officers, constituting a pattern of deliberate indifference that was the moving force behind plaintiffs' injuries. 110, as a direct result of the city's policies and customs, plaintiffs suffered the constitutional violations and resulting injuries alleged herein. Count 7, institutional liability against the hospital. Plaintiff incorporates by reference all preceding allegations fully set forth herein. UTMB Health is a state actor is liable for the constitutional violations committed by its employees and agents who participated in the forced blood draw procedure. 113. UTMB Health maintained policies or customs that permitted its medical personnel to perform invasive medical procedures on non-consenting individuals without independently verifying the validity of law enforcement warrants or the voluntariness of consent. UTMB Health's policies demonstrated deliberate indifference to the constitutional rights of individuals subjected to forced medical procedures in conjunction with law enforcement. As a direct result of UTMB's health policies and conduct of its employees, plaintiffs suffered constitutional violations and resulting injuries. I believe this is the last claim right here. Count number 8, state law claims. Texas common law, false imprisonment, assault, battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Plaintiff incorporates by reference, yada yada. 17, false imprisonment. Defendants intentionally confined plaintiff without legal justification, causing him to be detained for approximately 11 months based on charges they knew to be unfound and evidence they knew to be fabricated. 118, assault and battery. Defendants intentionally caused harmful and offensive contact with plaintiff's person through the forced blood draw and physical restraint, performed pursuant to a warrant obtained through fraud and without proper legal justification. 19, intentional infliction of emotional distress. This is also called the tort of outrage. There's negligent infliction of emotional distress and there's intentional infliction of emotional distress. And actually, when I modify it, and amend the complaint, I'm actually going to add negligent infliction of emotional distress to this as well, because honestly, there's both of them. Defendant's conduct was extreme and outrageous, exceeding all bounds of human decency, and was intended to cause or recklessly disregarded the substantial likelihood of causing severe emotional distress to plaintiff. The deliberate fabrication of evidence, procurement of warrants through perjury, and coordination of an interstate conspiracy against the plaintiff constitutes conduct so outrageous as to exceed all bounds of human decency. As a direct result of the defendant's tortious conduct, plaintiff suffered significant injuries, including emotional distress, physical pain, loss of liberty, and reputational harm. All right, damages. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's unconstitutional conduct, plaintiff has suffered and continues to suffer significant damages, including but not limited to compensatory damages, loss of liberty for approximately 11 months for wrongful incarceration, physical pain and suffering from the forced medical procedures, severe emotional distress, mental anguish, and psychological trauma, damaged reputation and standing in the community, lost income and earning capacity, medical expenses and costs relating to treating psychological trauma, legal fees and costs incurred in defending against false charges. Punitive damages. Defendant's conduct was malicious, wanton, oppressive, and demonstrated reckless disregard for plaintiff's constitutional rights, including deliberate perjury and warrant applications and judicial proceedings, warranting an award of punitive damages to deter similar conduct and punish the wrongdoers. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff respectfully requests that this court exercise jurisdiction over this matter and enter judgment in favor of plaintiff and against all defendants. Award compensatory damages in an amount to be determined at trial for the injuries, losses, and damages suffered by the plaintiff. Award punitive damages against all individual defendants in an amount sufficient to deter similar conduct and punish the constitutional violations, including the deliberate procurement of search warrants through perjury. 4. Award reasonable attorney's fees, costs, and expenses pursuant to 42 U.S. Code 1988. 5. Grant declaratory relief declaring that defendant's actions violated plaintiff's constitutional rights under the First, Fourth, and 14th Amendments. 6. Grant appropriate injunctive relief to prevent similar constitutional violations in the future, including requirements for additional training, unconstitutional requirements for warrant applications, and the rights of First Amendment auditors. 7. Grant leave to amend this complaint as justice requires. 8. Award pre- and post-judgment interest as allowed by law. 9. Grant such other and further relief as this court deems just and proper. Sending all these defendants into bankruptcy is my goal. Jury trial demand. Plaintiff hereby demands a trial by jury on all issues so triable as a matter of right. And that is it.
They broke the chains, but I walked out free. Every scar they carved just empowered me. 2017, Lafayette's chokehold grip. Sheriff's badge turned to a power trip. Mississippi flag in my righteous hand. Public sidewalk where free citizens stand. Timmy Pruitt rolled up with manufactured rage. No permit, lies wrapped me in a cage. Asked for his badge number
exercise my right. They cuffed me up in broad Mississippi daylight. Video went viral, whole county shook. They fired back with a felony book. False stalking charge, legal masquerade. All to indemnify the mess they made. 2018, November's bitter frost. Lizzie Crowder, weaponized what mattered most. File false rape, turn love to a courtroom game. 2 years grinding through manufactured shame. 2020 she played out, escaped the cell. Paid her fine while my world went to hell. Support for Lydia suddenly flipped and betrayed. 4 years lost, no father-daughter serenade. No bedtime stories, no calls relayed. Just silence where our laughter used to cascade. December 2021, the storm returned. Alcorns ripped while Lafayette bridges burned. Joey East crew snatched me ice cold. No evaluation, no facts, no lawful hold. Tupelo's walls, padded bed confinement. North Miss meds clouding my mental alignment. February 22, they came once more. Alcorn's fabrications walked through the door. Newborn son in the ER sacred light. They cuffed me up, stole that holy night. 7 days in solitary's concrete cave. Then East Miss pharmaceuticals to enslave. June 2022, walked through the hall. Oxford City standing dignified and tall. Camera rolling, made a clerk request. Public records, constitutional quest. But they twisted it, spun their narrative line. Mayor claimed fear to blur the constitutional line. Dusted off that restraining order from 17. Weaponized fresh for a felony scene. Charged with stalking for walking through City Hall. For asking questions, for standing up tall. October 22, I fought the machine again. Marched the FBI, laid truth before federal men. Oxford office, evidence carefully laid. But Beavers and Kilpatrick sharpened their blade. November 1st, revoked my parole. November 3rd, they swallowed me whole. Kilpatrick campaign, riding on my back. Used my persecution to advance her political track. Prison walls, months carved in stone. Paid the price, stood defiant alone. August 23, Galveston, suffocating heat. Journalist on assignment, working the street. Osteen's traffic stop, perfectly staged night. False default, we had charged, no sobriety test in sight. 11 months buried, holding my breath. Extradited back to face judicial death. July 24, kangaroo court show. 2-year sentence with zero proof to show. But January 25, post-conviction win. January 22nd, I walk free again. February 1st, Utah's deceptive call. Latent ground, but predatory eyes on all. Sesames reached across state lines, spinning webs with defamatory signs. Rich and spread poison wide. Roaring 39 names caught in their slanderous tide. Orrington blocked, grammar's light. Latent city officials dimmed constitutional sight. March 28th, I dialed that phone. City hall reception, cold as stone. March 31st, face federal walls. Salt Lake City, where justice calls. They demanded ID, background inspection. I said no. Constitutional protection took my place. Circle my car, still went live, raised awareness far. But the cruelest wound that still remains. Crowder's war, these invisible chains. Lydia's voice, 4 years stolen away. No good night hugs, no Father's Day. Mother and daughter separated by lies. While I break through these court-constructed skies. Filed lawsuits, align the names. Sesames, McCutcheon, their corruption games. Arrington Shield, Layton's wall. Oxford's influence, spanning it all. For Lydia's future, for truth's bright flame. For everything stolen, for clearing my name. This is the anthem, the reckoning beat. Stripped to silence, back on my feet. This ain't over, this is the ascension. Next verse I drop breaks through that dimension. From Lafayette's mud to Galveston's bars, to Layton's walls and federal scar. Yes, I'm the voice they try to silence through fear, but I'm amplified now, crystal clear.